Welcome to part 2 of our tutorial series on secondary sources in legal research. This video will cover legal encyclopedias. This is a tutorial by the Jerome Hall Law Library at Indiana University Maurer School of Law. In this brief video, we will discuss what legal encyclopedias are and when they can be of use in legal research. Like regular encyclopedias, a legal encyclopedia offers broad summaries on a wide array of legal topics. They don't include any commentary or analysis, they simply explain what the law is. As we start to compare the different types of secondary sources in law, legal encyclopedias fall more toward the lower end of the authority spectrum. Rather than going in depth on particular areas of law, legal encyclopedias cover a broad range of legal topics at a more shallow level. Though they may be less authoritative than other types of secondary sources in law, legal encyclopedias can still be very helpful in research. The best time to use a legal encyclopedia is at the very beginning of your research, when you're completely unfamiliar with an area of law. Because it offers short descriptions of various legal topics, a legal encyclopedia can also be helpful when you need a quick explanation. A legal encyclopedia will not only give you a basic understanding of a topic, but it will also point you to the pivotal cases on the topic and give you citations to any statutes that might be relevant. So while you won't get as many citations here as you would in other sources like law review articles or the American Law Reports, the advantage of the citations in a legal encyclopedia is that they focus on the key cases or statutes on that particular topic, so they can provide a smart launching point into your primary source research. You can access legal encyclopedias in print as well as electronically through Lexis or Westlaw. One thing to note about legal encyclopedias is that since the databases have different licensing agreements with different publishers, it's often the case that you'll find an encyclopedia on either Lexis or Westlaw, but not on both. Legal encyclopedias come in two different flavors: national, taking a broad approach to their explanation of legal issues, and state-specific, whose explanations focus more specifically on how an individual state has treated a legal issue. There are two main national encyclopedias: American Jurisprudence, known as AmJur, and Corpus Juris Secundum, known as CJS. These publications are very similar, but there are some small differences. CJS usually starts with a black letter introduction to a topic and also includes more footnotes than AmJur. AmJur tends to focus on federal laws, while CJS has more state law citations. Finally, AmJur is available on both Lexis and Westlaw, while CJS is only available on Westlaw. If you're dealing with a state law issue, it makes the most sense to go to a state encyclopedia for obvious reasons. It's going to be more detailed to your particular jurisdiction, and the citations are likely to be more relevant. Not all states have an encyclopedia, but many do. If you have a state-specific question, for the reasons just mentioned, this can be a quick place to get your research started. However, there are a couple of quirks to be aware of. First, especially when you're dealing with state encyclopedias, they will be on either Lexis or Westlaw, but not on both, which is why when you're conducting secondary source research, it's a good idea to try both databases, as the sources will vary in each. Second, a legal encyclopedia is not always called an encyclopedia. Think about the two national encyclopedias we talked about. They're titled American Jurisprudence and Corpus Juris Secundum. Neither one has encyclopedia in its title. Trigger words to look for in the title that might flag the publication as a legal encyclopedia are, of course, encyclopedia, like the Indiana Law Encyclopedia, the phrase law in practice, as in Michigan law in practice, and the word jurisprudence, as in American jurisprudence or Ohio jurisprudence. Now that we understand how and when to use legal encyclopedias, let's take a quick look at how to find them and their available features on Westlaw and Lexis. What if you were researching Fourth Amendment law and were specifically interested in the permissibility of search and seizure of content in school lockers? A secondary source might provide a helpful gateway into researching this topic, citing relevant legal authority and providing background, commentary, and analysis of the legal landscape. There are several ways to search for legal encyclopedias in Westlaw. To search quickly across all content, begin from the main search bar. This will bring up results in multiple content types, the default being cases. Switch your content type on the left to secondary sources. Secondary sources is still a rather broad category, so you can therefore further filter on the left by publication type to texts and treatises. If your result list is still too large, you might try narrowing further, for example by searching within your results for another keyword or filtering by publication name, such as American jurisprudence. Scroll through your results until you find one that looks relevant to your research and click the link to enter. There are a few things to note here. We start with basic publication information like the date of the most recent update to this encyclopedia entry and the author names right at the top. This is followed by additional suggested sources, like an American Law Reports article. Then we get to the text of the encyclopedia entry. It contains both basic explanation and more specific observations and pointers. Footnotes follow the text, and within the text, if you hover over the footnote numbers, the authority cited will pop up. In addition, at the top of the page there are two additional tabs. Citing references will show you anything else on Westlaw that has cited this encyclopedia entry. And the table of authorities shows all cases cited in this encyclopedia entry. Returning to the entry itself in the Document tab, one final item of note is that to the left of the entry you see a snippet of the encyclopedia's table of contents. Encyclopedia entries are arranged topically, so it's possible that there are neighboring entries in this title that might be of additional use to you. You can view the full table of contents by clicking the button at the top of this list. An additional method for searching for encyclopedias is to navigate to that collection first before running your search. This also eliminates some of the post-search filtering we performed earlier. Below the search bar on the home page, in the Content Types tab, click on Secondary Sources. And on the Secondary Sources page, under By Type, click on Jurisprudence and Encyclopedias. From here, you could filter further by specific title or topic, or search the entire collection using the filtered search bar at the top of the page. Recall that there are also state-specific legal encyclopedias, so an additional helpful filter here is jurisdiction, if you want to see what state-specific materials might be available. Next, we'll move to Lexis to see how to search legal encyclopedias with that service. You will notice many similarities between searching Lexis and searching Westlaw. As with Westlaw, you may start your encyclopedia search from the main search bar. From the search results list, which comes up with cases by default, change your view on the left to secondary materials. Next, you can narrow further by selecting jurisprudence as a subcategory. And you may choose to filter further by such facets as jurisdiction, source, or searching within your results for an additional keyword. For example, we might filter this list by source to American jurisprudence. Once again, you can scan through your search results list for the entry that looks most relevant to you. Click to enter, and we start at the top of the page with a heading that shows where this encyclopedia entry fits within the greater table of contents, followed by author information, the text of the encyclopedia entry itself, and below that the footnotes. In Lexis, if you click on any of the footnotes in text, it'll pop up for you within the text itself rather than having to scroll down to see the full text of the footnote. Similar to Westlaw, on the left we have access to a snippet of the table of contents where our entry appears, and a link at the top of that list to view the full table of contents. What's missing in Lexis as compared to Westlaw are tabs at the top of the page. We don't have a way of knowing what other content on Lexis has cited this entry, and we aren't provided the handy table of authorities to quickly see all cases cited in this encyclopedia entry. Off to the right, however, Lexis identifies additional topics we could research based on the content of this entry. For instance, if our specific question about locker searches is one's expectation of privacy, we could click on that topic and view the topic summary, which provides major cases, additional secondary sources, and more to help us research this narrower topic further. To wrap up, encyclopedias are an excellent secondary source to begin your research because they offer quick and easy explanations of different legal topics, with citations to the major cases and statutes on point. Encyclopedias can have a national or a state focus. As great as they are, though, remember that they are the least in-depth of all the secondary sources, and they are not as authoritative as other secondary sources. So you therefore should never cite to an encyclopedia in your research. This concludes the tutorial on legal encyclopedias. If you have any questions, the research librarians are happy to help.